The film begins with video footage. The cult is conducting a mysterious ritual. In a circle, they have a man, a corpse, and a hanged victim, and the cameraman films everything. The story then moves to teenager Andy and his blind little sister Piper. After a girl's unsuccessful attempt to meet people her age, her brother takes her home. But an even worse situation awaits them there. The father stopped answering with all his heart. Andy picks the lock and discovers a corpse lying on a shower floor in a pool of his own vomit. After the father's body was discovered, the children were taken to the social services department. Since Andy is not yet a year old, he cannot be his sister's guardian and is forced to live in an orphanage. Social worker Wendy has already found a foster mother for Piper, her former colleague Laura. The children beg Wendy not to separate them and convince the new guardian to take them both away. Anyway, Andy will be 18 soon. After spending the last night in their stepfather's house, which is already being prepared for sale, the brother and sister go to Laura the next day. She is very happy about their arrival, but is somewhat cold towards Andy, which is a forced burden compared to the girl. When Laura is distracted by a phone call, a gentleman lets her cat outside. He goes out to return the animal and notices an empty swimming pool in the backyard, where some half-naked child has already caught the cat. Taking the pet, Laura takes the new kids into the building to measure their height. It turns out that she once had a daughter, Katie, blind like Piper and the same age, but she drowned in the pool, and the boy in the yard, Oliver, was another of her charges. The hostess puts the girl in her daughter's room, and Andy allocates a storage room. Having settled down, the young man corresponded with friends, talking about the strange Oliver. Laura catches him doing this. As soon as Andy is distracted by conversation with his sister, the hostess takes his phone to read the correspondence. This infuriates the man, and his reaction frightens the woman. In the evening, after everyone has gone to bed, Laura turns on the VCR and watches a recording of some occult ritual, cut from the website blackangeltapes.net. Andy can't sleep in his new place. Noticing that the light is on in the yard, he looks out the window and sees Laura leading Oliver to the hut behind the pool. In the morning, Laura sits on the edge of the pool and looks at the sky, waiting for the rain. Andy, waking up, notices that out of habit he wet the bed. He secretly washes his pajamas so that the shameful disease does not become a shameful nickname. While washing, he looks fearfully into the shower stall in the corner. After his father's death, his soul remains under the shadow of fear. Laura checks on Oliver, who sits motionless, and then leaves him locked up while she takes Andy and Piper to their father's funeral. Standing at the coffin, the older brother carefully averts his gaze from the body, despite the fact that his sister asks him to describe what he sees. When Laura comes to say goodbye, she quietly cuts a lock of hair from the corpse, which she takes with her. The guardian then tells Andy that he must say goodbye to his father, saying that the soul of the deceased remains in the body for a while, so decorum must be kept. At this time, Oliver, who remained at home, breaks the glass with his hands and then, bleeding, wanders towards the barn. Unable to open it, the boy breaks into the chicken coop, also unsuccessfully. On the way home, Laura suggests throwing a party to cheer up her graduates. The holiday also includes drinking alcoholic beverages, although the brother and sister are still minors and cannot drink. However, alcoholic intoxication lifts the spirits of everyone except Oliver, a desperate observer of the celebration from the sidelines. When a drunken Piper falls asleep, Laura and Andy decide to share secrets and sit with their backs to each other for comfort. The young man admits that his father was quite cruel to him, but he was always kind to his daughter. Laura says she misses Katie and would do anything to hear her call her mom again. After putting the children to bed, Laura goes to the bathroom and urinates in a plastic cup. She secretly dumps the collected urine on Andy to make him think he wet himself again from drinking. The woman deleted all the photographs taken by the teenager at her home. She then notices Oliver wandering the street with the cat and takes the boy into the building to treat his wounds. The boy looks strange. Also in the bathroom, the water accidentally turns on and the mirror immediately cracks. In the morning, Andy notices that he wet himself while taking his clothes to the washing machine. Laura's Piper is already there. They took the protector and throw into the car. Then the girls go to work. Left alone at home, Andy, unable to overcome his fear of the shower, washes himself in the courtyard fountain. There he notices that Oliver is locked in his room. The boy knocks down a fly on the glass and eats it. Deciding to make friends with his new brother, the teenager goes to him. He realizes that Laura has locked the entrance, and, according to his old habit, breaks it open with a knife. Andy takes the boy into the kitchen to feed him melon and at the same time establish communication. Since he does not speak, the teenager encourages him to communicate in writing. Andy then hands Oliver a piece of sliced melon. Turning around, the teenager did not notice how the boy began to bite the knife, cutting himself. Noticing the startled incident, Andy drags Oliver to the car to take him to the hospital. However, in front of the white line outlining the building, the boy begins to resist. As Andy forcefully drags him across the border, Oliver falls onto his back and begins to scream in an epileptic fit. By this time, Laura returns with Piper. Noticing Oliver, the owner drags him into the building. He suddenly starts talking, wondering where he is. Playing a tape recording of the ritual, the woman reveals instructions on how to calm the boy. Covering his mouth, she stroked his forehead in circular motions. Concerned about what happened, Andy returns to the kitchen and notices that Oliver had written the word bird on a piece of paper before the incident. He then asks Laura if he should take the boy to the hospital, but states that he should not interfere in his own affairs. After closing the entrance in his face, the woman later feeds Oliver a lock of Andy and Piper's dead father's hair. Piper walks around the house with a cane, looking for an escaped cat. It runs along the white line that outlines the monastery in the surrounding area, with a protective circle visible only from above. During this time, Andy decides to overcome his fear of showers by going in with his clothes on. Suddenly, behind the partition, he notices the silhouette of his father, who tells him that he will die in the rain. In shock, the gentleman slipped and fell, hitting his head. While Andy is in the hospital, it starts to rain and water slowly fills the pool. While visiting a guy in the hospital, Laura accidentally responds to his story about her father's ghost by saying that she killed him, but quickly changes the topic to the fact that the teenager mistook the rain for a shower. But at home, the woman waits for the pool to fill with enough water and also watches a video of her deceased daughter. When Piper joins her, Laura takes the girl to play in the rain before dressing her in her dead daughter's clothes in the barn. It also allows her to touch what's in the freezer, the frozen corpse of Katie herself. Then she again studies the records of the cultists, from which it is said that in order to resurrect a person, you need a special demon that inhabits another body. After this, he must feed on the corpse of the deceased, after which the demon will vomit the remains into the body of another person, who must be killed in the same way as the resurrected one. It's clear that Laura wants to get her daughter back with the help of the possessed Oliver, sacrificing Piper. After Andy returns from the hospital, a woman is choked on his perfume and sneaks into Piper's room. There she hits the sleeping girl in the face to accuse her brother of violence. A blind woman knows who hit her by smell. During the morning confrontation, Laura states that this is Andy's way of atonement for his father's abuse. This leads to an argument, which escalates when the friend wants to take a photo of Oliver standing in the rain. Laura smashes his phone, and Andy almost hits her in the soup. Then, in order not to scare his sister, the gentleman goes to the Social Security Service. While waiting to be received, he sees a message about the disappearance of a certain Connor bird, similar to Oliver. He expresses suspicions about Andy. Although she trusts a colleague with a clean record more than a stressed-out teenager, she agrees to investigate. Laura takes Piper to practice goalball, a special sport for the visually impaired, and returns to the building to prepare her for the ritual. When she returns, she notices that the demon-possessed Oliver has made a mess. Trying to satisfy the devil's hunger, the boy rushes at the woman, biting her hand. She runs away, locking herself in her room while Oliver chews on the table in a fit of hunger. When the boy went outside, Laura left the room to calm the demon with circular movements of her hand. The woman then takes him to the barn, where she shows him the freezer containing Katie's corpse, the real food for which the demon was summoned. Andy goes with Wendy to Laura. On the way, the gentleman leaves his sister a voice message in which he talks about his father's bullying and that Laura is up to something evil, but she and Wendy will fix it. He doesn't know that Piper's phone is in Laura's possession. Forewarned, she immediately cleans the house, covering up the chaos caused by the possessed Oliver. While Wendy and Laura explore the monastery, Andy quietly sneaks into the backyard. In the barn, he encounters the gruesome sight of Katie Oliver gnawing on the corpse. Wendy, having found no reason to worry after talking with the owner, suddenly notices that she is bleeding. Hearing Andy scream, Laura instantly loses her temper. She asks Wendy not to interfere and let her complete her plan. However, the social worker, frightened by her behavior, goes with Andy to the barn to see for himself that in this house the word normal has been crossed out even in the dictionary. They're about to leave, but at that moment Laura rams Wendy's car and hits Andy. After making sure that her colleague is dead, the owner drowns the wounded teenager in the resulting puddle. Laura then picks up Piper from practice and takes her home. There, Oliver, after eating a piece of Andy, imitates Andy's voice to lure the girl. Deceived, Piper feels Oliver's face when Laura interrupts her. The woman calls her come with her and take her to the pool. Suspecting something is wrong, Piper runs away and locks herself in the bathroom, where she finds the corpse of her brother, bitten by a demon-possessed boy. Having broken the lock, Laura goes to the bathroom and explains to the girl the essence of the ritual. Taj throws objects at her to escape, but to no avail. The girl hit her head and fell. The woman drags the victim into a puddle filled with rainwater, where Oliver is already waiting with a belly full of carrion. Waking up, Piper breaks free, delaying her death. When he suddenly calls the tormentor mom, Laura falls into a stupor. The woman lets the girl go. Oliver then follows the fleeing Piper, who is run over by the police on the road. Noticing a message about the disappearance of Connor Bird, the demon breaks through the protective barrier, leaving the boy's body outside in terrible agony. The police later find him. Laura goes to the barn, where she takes the girl's corpse out of the freezer, imagining what it will be like in the morning. A woman who had drowned somewhere comes down into the pool with him and hugs him. That's how the police attack them. This is where the film ends.